I don't have any children to worry about. I know where all my children are. You know, the question, do you know where your children are? I know where all of my children. They're in Cypress Hill Cemetery, all of them.
Because I live 10 miles from Chicago, and everybody has guns.
A bullet doesn't have a name. It goes where it wants to.
Are you scared on the job?
Every day, every minute.
Well, I lived every day as it was my last day, so I didn't think about tomorrow. I only thought about today.
How many of you have seen a gun? 220 Throop Avenue, a housing project in Brooklyn, New York. This is the story of a routine murder and a typical victim. It happened right over there. A routine and typical may seem like strange adjectives to use. We're talking about murder, but consider this. It was a shooting death. We have one every 45 minutes, 40 a day, more than 14,000 a year. That makes it routine. Typical? Well, the victim was a young black man. Murder is now the leading cause of death for young blacks. Typical, too, in that a bystander, in this case a 10-year-old girl, was shot and wounded in the Crossfire. The sense of fear is palpable, and not just here. Violence and the fear of violence are changing America, and we're all caught in the crossfire.
The Merrill Report, Caught in the Crossfire, is brought to you by the people of Toyota. Additional funding has been provided by the Ford Foundation, the Pew Charitable Trusts, and Carnegie Corporation of New York.
This is 10-10 Wins. You give us 22 minutes, we'll give you the world.
76 degrees and partly cloudy, 5:20 on this Wednesday, July 7th. I'm Ashley Martella. Here's what's happening. The heat wave continues. We could set a new record today. A new ritual at some city parks called Whirlpool has police closely watching what goes on in the water. A 14th victim is now linked to confessed serial killer Joel Rifkin, and a Bedford-Stuyvesant woman loses her third and last son to gunfire on the same street where her other boys were shot dead.
We're not too sure if he was the intended target in this case or not. There were numerous shots fired, and subsequently Frankie Davis was killed.
He came out at the wrong time, and just, you know, sometimes you're around the wrong people, and just things happen like that. In this day and age, you get around the wrong people sometimes.
Gunfire and death on the streets of Williamsburg. An 18-year-old boy was shot and killed. A 10-year-old girl apparently caught in the crossfire. She was wounded in the cheek. Police tonight say they still don't know what the shooting was all about.
We came in front of the building, and as soon as the door locked behind me, the shots just started ringing, and Frankie turned around and he grabbed me. He covered my body, me and the little girl. Then he turned around, he got shot. He said, he made a moaning noise, like, ugh, like that. So he tried to come this way through here, and he fell right there.
He could not get back into this building. So he's trapped out here. He never made it off this, whatever you call this, off the stoop or whatever. He was just trapped.
Do you think Frankie saved your life?
Of course. He saved my life. He covered my body with his body. If it wasn't for him, I would have been 6 feet under now with a baby.
I just can't believe he's dead.
What was he like?
He just always wanted to make everybody laugh.
We used to be together all the time with him and his girlfriend.
What was he like?
Like fun, playing, breaking on people.
We should not have to live like this.
Like this?
Yeah.
You mean afraid?
Yeah. Scared to look out our windows, scared to go outside, scared to go check the mailbox, everything.
A young girl plays with a hula hoop, carefree, as if there was no police tape a few feet away, as if there was no blood on the pavement.
Is it hard for you to come here?
Very difficult, very. I get a shiver up my spine when I have to walk on these grounds now. You know, it was difficult before because my other son he was killed about 50 feet from here. You know, I mean, he didn't actually die on the spot.
Charlie was shot?
He was shot 4 times in '91, November of '91. And he walked about 50 feet from him, from where I'm standing. He didn't collapse. He was really strong, you know, and he didn't collapse, and no one thought that his injuries were so severe.
But he lived in the hospital for 12 days?
12 agonizing days.
Where was Ralik shot?
Right across the street. That's about maybe 200 feet from here.
So all three of your sons died within, or were shot within 200 feet of this spot?
Exactly. All three.
Each one of these murders occurred in the same geographic area. Two of them happened around the same time of the day. And we have been informed, it's been alleged by people who have witnessed these events, that in each one of these incidents, the homicide victim was involved in an active gunfight with someone else. If there's a common thread that runs through all of them, that's it.
Guns on both sides?
Guns on both sides, apparently.
Frankie have a gun?
No, he did not. He didn't. He doesn't carry guns. He's never carried a gun. He was afraid of guns because he lost 2 brothers through guns. He was not a violent person.
Was Frankie carrying a gun?
No, I didn't see him with a gun.
We may never know whether Frankie Davis was carrying a gun. The police suspect one thing. His mother and an eyewitness say another. What is certain is that Frankie Davis is here with his 2 brothers.
You know, the question, do you know where your children are? I know where all of my children. They're in Cypress Hill Cemetery, all of them. My oldest son was only 20 years old. He was going to college, he had a job, he was working, he was engaged to be married. I mean, he left a fiance here, as well as a mother and 2 brothers. When it happened to Andrew, he was only 22. I mean, he had 2 children. They will never know their fathers. And I lost my son. I mean, they were more to me than just sons. I mean, they were my friends. I mean, no one knows them like or knew them like I did. You know, you see names here, but these was people, not just names. I mean, they were living, live, full of life young men, had the whole world in front of them, you know, and they were cut down. Not even in the prime of their life. They were to me, they were babies.
David Gonzalez, a reporter for the New York Times, profiled Mrs. Davis after her 3rd son was killed.
Of all the stories that I've written, it's among the top 2 or 3 that elicited response from readers, both in terms of readers wanting to reach Mrs. Davis and to help her. 2 women from Long Island out in Suffolk County write to me and say, I have a home, my children are grown, I have room at home, I feel for her. If she needs a place to just decompress for a while, let her come out.
Says, Dear Miss Davis, although you don't know me or my husband, I wanted to tell you how overwhelmed we were by the tragic losses of your 3 sons. No one should have to go through what you've been going through these past 6 years. The article written by David Gonzalez gave us a sensitive picture of your life now. I'm sure you cannot see beyond the sadness, and who can blame you? We're sending a check to help you with funeral expenses and hope that somehow you can summon the strength to remember the good times you had with your sons and eventually come to cope with your terrible losses.
I've also had some readers write to me and a couple of callers who have questioned my portrayal of this, almost suggesting, not almost, suggesting outright that these young people had it coming, that they deserve this.
Well, the only thing I can say is that those were my children. They were loved by me. They had many friends that loved and cared about them. And they did care about what happened to them. I mean, their lives were snuffed out very young.
And I spent an evening or a night at a bed and breakfast up in Connecticut, visiting with some friends. And I got into a discussion with the hostess of the place. And I told her what I was doing, what kind of stories I worked on, and she just said flat out, I really don't care about black kids dying in the ghetto. What are they doing out there at night anyway? They deserve it, essentially. I'm tired about hearing about these stories.
What would you say to that woman in Connecticut to make her care? I mean, why should she care?
I mean, I think that everybody should really feel the same outrage that I'm feeling. Because I would if it would happen to someone else. It's not just my pain. I think it should be everybody's pain.
I mean, there is the concept, and I'm speaking not just for the New York Times, I'm speaking for, I think, mainstream media in general. There's a concept of a routine murder. I mean, life in this city has gotten crazy enough that you can't have a routine murder that goes uncovered. Usually those murders occur in neighborhoods like this. Usually they occur at night. Usually the victim is young.
I feel at some point, I think it's when black children die, it doesn't seem to be a big deal to a lot of people. I think it's expected these days.
There's a lot more victims than just the homicide victims. You have a 10-year-old girl here who has serious physical wounds, serious psychological wounds, and that's an innocent victim by all accounts. You know, we have no allegations of that 10-year-old child doing anything but trying to survive and jump a jump rope.
Where'd the bullet hit you?
Right here, and it came from here.
Went in right there?
Right here.
And it came out right on the other side?
Yeah, I remember when I was playing role, and I saw 4 guys. They came, and they started shooting.
So then I jumped on the floor. Then I tried to at my sister, but I couldn't. She was too far away. Then that boy, he fell on her feet. Then she got in shock. Then she started screaming. Then it went through her mouth.
So what did you do?
I ran upstairs, told my mother and father.
So at first she fell, and when she fell, she got back up because she didn't know she was shot. So when she went to one of her friends said, "Oh, Yolanda, you got shot." She said, "No, I didn't."
Then I looked down and I saw all the blood on the floor, and then I realized I got shot.
She was in a state of shock, and her mouth was open, her eyes was funny. I didn't know what to do, what to think, or nothing. So something told me to just pick her up, but she was stuck to the wall almost like. So I pulled her, and then I bent her legs because she was so stiff. It's like she was a piece of metal or something. I couldn't get off the wall for nothing. And then I had to take my hand and like chop her legs and bend them. And then she fell into right into my grasp, like right here. So when she wrapped her arms around me, I started running toward the hospital with her.
The family had moved to the Tompkins apartments from another supposedly more dangerous housing project. After Yolanda was shot and wounded, they moved again, but they're still fearful.
I call every 30 minutes on the 30 minutes when I'm at the job. I have to, because this is the fear that I got now. I mean, I know it shouldn't be like this. I should have more faith, and I don't know who, maybe the system or whatever, but that's just the way it turned me into that now.
Do you think about, though, any of you, do you think about it a lot? Gary?
No. I don't want to bring it back to my memory.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
I don't want to bring it back. I don't want to think about it no more.
But how do you not think about it, though?
I try not to.
When you do think about it, what do you think about?
I just keep seeing flashbacks.
What does that mean? I don't know what you mean.
When you keep seeing it over and over.
And what do you see?
I see blood.
Yolanda's okay now, physically. What about mentally? Has she changed?
She changed. She did.
She changed a lot.
She changed from 10 years old to about 30 years old.
Yeah, she went from a 10-year-old child,
to 30
like
years old.
almost overnight. She went from like a 10-year-old child, and it's like she transformed into an adult woman.
Do you think about it at all, about getting shot? Can you sleep at night? Or do you ever have bad dreams about it?
No.
Have you forgotten it? Now, you know what your dad and your mom said, well, that it made you seem older. Instead of being 10, you seemed like a lot older. But you got very serious. Is that right? The children who live here, how different are they, David, from kids all over?
In terms of hopes and fears, sometimes I don't think they are. I mean, you know, you spend time talking with young people and you realize that they're young people at heart.
How many of you have seen a gun?
My father was to the store, and when I look outside, I saw a man shooting, and I look out the window, and people was running, and then when my father was outside, then he was Then he had a gun and he was trying to shoot somebody, but he can't because they shoot him back with a big gun.
Is your father okay? He didn't get shot.
I remember the last time I saw a gun was when my Uncle Danny got shot.
Tell me about that.
He just came from his girlfriend's party and they shot him like 39 times and stuff.
I remember I saw a gun when my Uncle Gary got shot. He was going to the store in the middle of the night and these guys was coming around and then they asked him for some money and he didn't give them none and then they had shot him. And then next morning, my grandma had found his body. We was going to Woolworths to get some stuff for the house, and this man, he was coming, what, I shoot your brains out, get back in the building. And we just kept walking, and he pulled out the gun and clicked it to my friend mother head. Her name is Sandra, and she got a pole and said, leave me alone, and he said, put the pole down or I'll shoot you. So we went back in the building, and he was going around telling everybody get back in the building. He was robbing stores, and I went to go out to tell my mother, and he said, little kid, get back in the building. I said, can I go tell my mother something? He said, no, get back in the building. He clicked the gun twice. And so I just ran back in the building, tried to contact my mother, and everybody was running. He kept shooting. He shot an old lady in the head. He shot a lot of people.
Are you sure you didn't see that on television?
No, it happened in the backyard.
I'd like to know what you want to be when you grow up.
A basketball player for Chicago Bulls.
All right.
A baseball player for the Toronto Blue Jays.
Jason, what would you like to be?
Doctor. A policeman, bus driver, basketball player.
All right, which is most important? Which one first?
Basketball, of course. No! My grandmother's poor, so I gotta earn some money.
Yes, Chicago.
Football player, and when I get injured, a corporate lawyer.
I want to be a clothes designer and a secretary. I want to be a lawyer and an artist.
I want to be a lawyer, a police officer, and a track runner.
Their dreams are like many children's dreams, but their neighborhood is not. On nearly every block, there's a mural in memory of someone who died too young.
All these neighborhoods, you could ride around or walk around, you'll see so many memorial plaques up for young people that have died before they're even 20 years old. That's crazy.
Majority of time, when anytime we investigate a homicide or a serious incident, it seems to be 9 out of 10 times there's a gun involved. The accessibility of the guns to these young kids is incredible.
When I was younger, we used to go outside and we used to settle things with our fists. The most thing happened, you walk away with a bloody nose, maybe a busted lip, maybe a black eye. And then the next thing you know, the next day, you and the guy is still living. You're able to play basketball together the next day and talk about, well, look what I did to your eye, well, look what I did to your nose, or whatever. And then the next thing you know, it becomes a big joke. But nowadays, it is so scary out here these days because you never know where it's coming from. And you never know. You never know if it's a stray bullet that's coming at you right now.
You might diss somebody, and you may not know how you disrespected them. You may not have known what happened. It's Kafkaesque in proportion. And yet, it could trigger something, literally trigger something, that could end your life.
There is no regard for human life anymore. They won't think twice about pulling the trigger and not even think about the consequences.
And nowadays, it's so crazy out here because back in those days, the intention wasn't to kill. The intention was just to settle a beef. And to settle a beef was with your hands. But nowadays, the intention is to kill.
How many can you count on one hand the number of your friends who are dead?
I can't count on one hand the number of friends of mine. I can't even think about all the friends that died. Too many.
How about for you? You're much younger, Mike.
He could probably count them, but I can't. Not though. In just this area alone, I could name about 20 people. In just this area, from Flushing to here, and from Broadway to Tompkins, I can name about 20 people that died.
Guns?
Guns.
How old are you?
21, 24.
How come you're out on the street? Why aren't you working?
No jobs. No jobs.
If there were jobs, would you be working?
Yeah, sure, why not? He's a union carpenter. Can't find work. I'm a plumber, I can't find work. We tradesmen and we can't find work. I got certificates.
What chance of people stand to get a job out here without an education? Ain't nobody offering them nothing.
You know?
They just say, oh, you go to school and get your GED, this and that, but you gotta make it a little more interesting than that. Mm-hmm. I mean, have something to offer.
Like, they building a lot of little houses around here. They don't come ask the people in the neighborhood, do you want to help us build these houses? No, they go get people from other neighborhoods and bring them here
Other
to work.
states.
You know?
Instead of hiring somebody off the street,
Instead
even laborers.
The people from the neighborhood, they hire people from other places. And people see that, they say, well, that's not right because we live here, you better in our community, but we can't help you better it.
You're willing to work?
Yeah, I'm willing to work.
Sure.
It's just that
majority of people want to work. But after a while, there's not going to be too much work on and it's going to corrupt them. Yeah. After a while, when they keep looking and looking, they're going to get disappointed. They're going to see nothing ahead of them, so they're going to be like, all right, so I'm trying to do the right thing. I can't find a work, so it's time to do the wrong thing. You know what I mean?
You know what's the wrong thing? They rob and steal, man.
What's your future? What do you think you'll be in 5 years?
I have no idea. This neighborhood, I could be dead I could be dead tomorrow. So.
Say that with a smile.
No, I'm not saying with a smile because it's the truth. I mean, you never know what's going to happen. You got to live every day as if it was your last day.
Day by day.
What's the future for you?
Day by day and just take care of my kid. That's it, man.
Yeah, but give me a picture of yourself in 5 years.
I can't picture myself. I could picture my son, but I can't picture myself because I don't know my future. Because I could just be walking over here right after this interview and they could shoot and I could be lying dead and you would take a picture of me and say, this is streets in Brooklyn. And that's the way to be.
How do you think the people in Manhattan or Iowa think of you when they see you?
They probably think of us as hoodlums.
Menaces to society.
Yeah, menaces and drug dealers and.
But you know what I mean? Everybody wants to make money. They just have a better way of making money. They have a chance to have a job and a future.
That's all they think we are, just thieves. You know, but they don't really know who we are. They just know the outside. It's like you can't judge a book by its cover. You know, we go other places. They say, "Oh, you're from Brooklyn. We already got the X on you." You know?
Yeah.
Oh, you're a thief. You're this. You're that. It's a label. So we gotta wear the label like a sticker now. And that's the way life is around here.
And no matter how good you try to be, if your family's starving, you're gonna try to get some money to feed your family. It might bring out the evil in you, but if that's what you gotta do, that's what you do.
Mostly that's how it is out here. Everybody got kids and they want to feed the kids. They want their kids with nice clothes. So they do what they have to do to get the money.
If you could do one thing to make it better, what would you do?
One
really
thing
nothing you could do to make it better.
One thing is get some type of education in the streets. Not for me, but see for him, get him, educate him. Educate the young, not the old. You can't teach an old dog new tricks.
You're 21. Why do you say old?
That's old out here. I'm already
21 in the street. That's as mature as you're gonna get.
You gotta teach them like that. How old are you?
12.
You gotta teach them from 12, 13. You gotta teach them how to go out there and get education and stay in school and work for yours and not be in the street running around all type of hours.
You gotta give them fun. If you take the young right now and educate them and give them something to do, instead of having all this free time,
being out in the streets.
And another 10, 20 years from now, they're the only ones gonna be around, and this would be a totally different community.
10, 20 years from now, I don't know where I'll be at. I know he'll probably be around. I know young kids, but not the older ones. Between drugs, violence, and AIDS, life is shit out here.
I can't tell you how sad it makes me feel to hear you talk about yourself as old. I'm 30 years older than you are. I don't think I'm old.
Live out here for 10 years, you'll feel old, man.
When you got kids dying 12, 13, 14 years old,
you feel old.
And you can make it to 20.
You feel good.
Feel good.
You feel damn good.
19, it seems to be the barrier age. I don't know what is it with 19, but most of the time I lose them is by 19. 21, you pass over. Young people sometimes leave each other now. Instead of saying peace or see you later, they say stay alive. You know, and it's real.
In a neighborhood where 21 is old, Richard Green has spent 20 years working to keep the peace.
What does the t-shirt say? I know it got to be a positive message.
Green, a 46-year-old Vietnam veteran, directs a program which provides jobs and training for hundreds of youth. He's fighting violence by creating what he calls peace zones.
Peace zones is nothing more than we'll create a small little area, a small little chip, and call that a peace zone, and then we'll start working from there. And little by little, peace zones will spread out. One morning we wake up, and the whole city, and the whole state, and the whole country is nothing but one big peace zone. This is a peace zone right here. We had three people shot here 2 weeks ago on that block. And we decided when we came down here and talked to the young people that we had to do something. And this is what we came down here and did. We took the abandoned building and we cleaned it up, we painted it up, we put some good words up there. We put some scenery on there. Some of these young people were born in this neighborhood. They've never been out of Brooklyn. They may have been to Prospect Park, but they don't even know what it looks like a sunset over a waterfall looks like. A place that they could look at and say, wow, look at all that greenery. So we put a little bit of it here for them. Now, does this change their whole way of looking at things? Maybe not today, but ultimately they'll begin to aspire to go to a place one day where they see the kinds of scenery. They'll aspire to better things. What's happening? How you doing? What you up to? You back in college? So you at New York City Tech?
Yeah.
So when is your classes?
School.
When are your classes?
From 6 to 9.
So you only got evening classes?
Yeah, I start working the day.
So you got a day job?
Yeah.
Okay. As long as you're doing something, that's the main thing. You're just not hanging around. But those young boys down there on that peace zone playing right now, what's the big thing about putting up a basketball rim? But I know where each and every one of them are right now. I can go over there and talk to each and every one of them as human beings, as individuals. And if I need something done, I could look to them and say, hey, I need you all to do this. If they get ready to go up the street and do something that's not correct, I could call them back and say, hey, I don't want you to do that. And they're gonna listen. 9 out of 10 of them will listen. So these are the little things that's gotta be done. It has to be shown to them there's a better side to this life. There's life after 19. There's this barrier that 19 is where it all stops. You got to begin to show them that there's a better life on the other side of the world, that Brooklyn, New York isn't the whole world.
The world outside of Brooklyn includes places like this, the campus of the Gunnery, an exclusive boarding school in Washington, Connecticut. 4 years ago, the ABC program, A Better Chance, gave young Chris Morales a scholarship and the chance to escape the streets of Bedford-Stuyvesant.
A lot of people ask me, did I ever get stabbed or shot when I'm up at school? And I say no. And they ask, have you been robbed? I say no. And they just think that Brooklyn is just like a danger zone, a bad place, a wasteland that no one really wants to go to. And I tell them that I grew up in the projects.
Do you suppose it's tough for him? I mean, it's like living in two worlds. He's here, this is quite different, but then he goes back.
At first, it was very tough. Now, I think he can, because he's comfortable with this environment now, he can turn the switch on and off, and the adjustment is, at least superficially, is pretty good.
When I come back here from like the green side of the other side of the fence on the green grass, like my school, and I come in and I look, and it's different and it's kind of scary, and there's a lot of fear when I walk, because I don't know, maybe next time I might get shot or something bad might happen to me.
He said that students would say, hey, did you ever get stabbed? Hey, did you ever get robbed? How do you survive down there? Do you remember stuff like that?
Oh, yeah, and I think at first it's kind of a status symbol and made him kind of a minor celebrity. But there's some real baggage that goes along with the reality of that kind of life.
I saw a man get shot just by standing on the corner, a drive-by shooting. And this happened in Brooklyn.
How many of you have ever seen a gun in somebody's hand pointed at? Anybody mind telling me some stories?
In Norwalk, me and my friends had just got finished playing basketball. We got stuck up by these kids.
With guns?
Guns.
Chicago, in Greektown, we were leaving the restaurant and just 4 guys with guns pulled them out and they started shooting at this car that was going the other way. It was in a bad area, the south side.
I live in a nice suburb, it's safe, but I've heard a lot of people say that.
Is he safe?
If you're in the suburb, I think you're much safer than if you're growing up in a really rough urban area.
But is he safe? No. You said safer.
He's safer.
Sometimes it forced Chris to think about the reality of what all that means. He's had incidents, family incidents with friends that indicate he's coming from an area where violence and drugs are a part of the natural lifestyle.
You have 2 sons, Chris and a 19-year-old son. What happened to him?
Well, my son got shot May the 22nd, and I will never forget that day. That was my mother's birthday. He was in the operating room for 8 hours. He was off and on. He got shot in the chest, shoulder, leg, and lower spine. And I couldn't cry at all, because somebody had to keep up my son's strength. I have faith. And my baby, he just opened up his eyes. And he seen me. He knew I was suffering. But I couldn't show my son the suffering. I had to show him the faith that I had.
Is he okay?
He's okay today.
What was your reaction to that? You were up at school, right?
Yeah, no one told me until after I came home, after school was over, because they didn't want me to get distracted, because I had tests. And I was kind of shocked at first. I didn't believe it, because it was hard to believe that my own brother got shot. And I didn't know if he was, gonna die or if he was gonna live. So I was just really shocked, and I just didn't say anything.
Is this like an escape for him, would you say?
Well, yes, it's an escape, but I think Chris and I would also look at it as an opportunity, because it really is an opportunity. This will allow Chris to go to the next level, probably college, where he can become someone who can either get out of his neighborhood or at least be mature enough to have avoided many of the traps that could happen to him if he stayed there.
Do you imagine yourself going back to Bed-Stuy to try to make it better? Or
I think if I went, I think I have a little chance to change the people's minds down there.
I'm sorry, I don't understand.
I think I'll have a very low chance to really change the way that people think down there. Because if I go back there and try to tell them that everything's wrong, they'll think what happened to you? Or they call me what they say, a sellout.
So what's your goal then? Just get your family out of there?
Yes. That's what I plan on doing, yeah. Moving out myself and then just moving my family with me.
He's got a future.
Yes, he does, and I'm very proud of him.
I mean, I think a lot of young men don't have a sense maybe that there's a future. This guy can see college, can see a professional career. I mean, right? Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
Well, Christopher, he always has something, you know. When you have the ability and the interest in something, like he has, he's like a jack of all trades.
Chris?
Yeah, if one thing doesn't go for him, he has another. He has his artistic values. He's a good artist, perfect artist.
Do you hope someday to make your living as an artist?
Yeah, that's what I want to do.
Do you think that'll be tough? Do you think you're good enough?
I think so myself, yeah.
What about this?
This is from a comic book that I was reading. The picture was real small, so I enlarged it and just drew it.
And this one?
It's from another comic. I got ideas. This is my personal character I made up, but I had ideas from different comics.
But you made this character up.
Yeah.
I mean, there are probably a whole lot of other kids like Chris Morales, with equally talented, equally smart, who don't get the chance that he gets.
Yeah. I mean, anyone would like to see everybody have an equal chance to opportunity. I guess you have to kind of look at it better, a few than none at all.
Talent alone doesn't guarantee an opportunity to escape. How old are you?
21.
What would you like to be?
Artist. Artist. Draw pictures like comic books and stuff like that. That's cool. Artist.
Not a bodybuilder, not a weight trainer?
Nah, you gotta go through all that training. No, it's not my style. I just keep in shape, keep in shape, because I get into a fight, knock somebody out.
When did you start working out?
Like 2 years ago.
So you were getting picked on 3 years ago? Yeah. I mean, you were a scrawny kid 3 years ago?
I was bony, I could crack, I was skinny. I started lifting weights, eating a lot of food and everything like that. Played football, get stronger, power. No more trouble no more. You can't stop a bullet though, but you know what I'm saying though. I don't get in trouble no more. No more fights and nothing like that.
Tell me about the bullets. What do you mean you can't stop a bullet?
I don't care how big you are, how strong you are. A bullet get in your ass, you can't stop it. You're gonna die, no matter what.
You worry about that?
Yeah, I worry about it a lot. Because, I don't want to die over something stupid,
It's the middle of the afternoon. Why aren't you working somewhere?
I'm on a job. Can't find a job out here. No job for a young black man no more. No more jobs.
Nice. That's nice. All of them nice.
You said you wanted to be an artist. Do you expect to be?
Never know.
What are your hopes?
My hopes? I live to see a long life. Enjoy myself while I can, because, like the guy said before, here today, gone tomorrow.
Are you scared on the job?
Every day, every minute. I'm scared I won't see my son. If I get shot or I get killed, I won't see my son when I go home at night because I won't be going home. So I'm scared for him. I'm scared for my wife that they should be without me. My view is that 95% to 99% of the people are good, and you have the few people with the guns and the drugs making it worse for everybody else. Because I know there are a lot of good people working and living in and out of these housing projects, and I see them going to work in the morning and coming home in the afternoon and trying to eke out a living like I or you or anybody else does. And a lot of them do the best they can for their family. I would say the greater percentage does.
I don't like cops because it's like say it's an emergency, like someone get in trouble, like they get robbed or something, and you call a cop, it's taking about 1,000 years to get to your house. It take them a long time.
Since people rob stores and there's a lot of violence and stuff, there should be cops in the stores and there should be police surrounding the place. Because where I live, there's a lot of guns and people be killing a lot of people where I live.
What's it like for you to be a cop here? I mean, the people have a real ambivalence about policemen. On the one hand, they want the protection. On the other hand, they don't really trust cops.
Well, generally speaking, people don't come up to me and say, "Oh, hi, officer. I just wanted to let you know that I got back from vacation and I had a great time." And, they don't come to me with those sort of things. They come to me in states of shock, either after being shot or sexually molested, or victims of sometimes very horrible crimes or horrible circumstances. But I know they appreciate me being there. I know they do.
But they're scared of me. A lot of them. I mean, not you personally.
They're scared of the uniform, okay, but, I'm a person and when I deal with people, I deal with them as a person and as an individual, and hopefully I'm able to put them at ease and make them comfortable in my presence.
I have no problem with the police. I think that, I don't know, they've been helpful to me. It's just that sometimes they're not there on time.
People in these neighborhoods want police protection. They want to feel safe. But I think what they're also wanting is some degree of respect and partnership with the police, too.
Some officers are prejudiced. They don't, some of them. Like, when you call them, and then sometimes they know if you're black or white or Hispanic or something like that, then they take a long time, as the tyrant said, to come to you. Then when they get there, they act like nothing happened.
You know what they say? They say cops, white cops in particular, overreact to young black men and humiliate them, lie down on the street for something. If it were a white kid, they would just, hey, cut it out.
I arrested a 13-year-old on a bicycle with a fully loaded revolver, and I want to go home safe at night. If I control a person's movement in such a way that they get uncomfortable, I'm very sorry. But I'm not going to jeopardize my life or my partner's life or any civilian's life out here because I might embarrass somebody's ego. I won't do it. If they're clean, I explain to them the circumstances of why they were stopped. If they're offended at the way I do it, I certainly would apologize for offending them. If they're dirty, they go to jail. It's as simple as that.
The New York City Police Department recovers anywhere between like 18 and 20,000 guns a year on the average.
Are there a lot more out there?
That's just a tip of the iceberg. I'm sure there's a ton more of guns out there.
Americans own more than 200 million guns legally. Most authorities say there are at least that many illegally owned guns.
The most popular gun on the street we have right here. We have the caliber. These are 9mm. These are the guns of choice. And this is another one. These guns can contain anywhere between 7 and 16 to 17 bullets. Very dangerous, very powerful.
Well, I sold Berettas, Taurus, P7s, Tech 9s, Mac 11s, AKs, shotguns.
This gun is manufactured for $13. In the black market on the streets, it's sold anywhere from $200 to $500.
I used to go out of state to Virginia. I used to bring them back in a big army duffel bag. And I used to buy them for like maybe $150, $200. Come back, sell them for $400, $500, up to $800, $900.
Make a lot of money.
Yeah. So it's a good profit.
This is a Calico 9mm. This container over here can hold up to 50 rounds. This is a very scary gun also.
Sometimes I sell a bullet separate. I had a connect with a military guy that used to sell me different kind of bullets. Like armor piercing bullets, shredders, hollow points, stuff like that.
You were the corner gun dealer.
Yeah, I was small though. I was, something that's to make money, But
who would buy the guns from you, Anthony?
Mostly, kids, like around 16, 17.
I was talking with a young man who used to sell guns. Well, he's now in a wheelchair because someone shot him.
There's a lot of bullets flying in the street. Unfortunately, some people get a taste of their own medicine.
What goes around comes around, Just like I did a whole lot of, bad things to a whole lot of other people. and been in, shootouts. I have shot people, It comes back to you. You can't expect to do bad and don't receive it,
This is a Mac 11. It's a 9mm. Can carry anywhere between 30 and 50 rounds.
Automatic means you just hold the trigger down and it empties?
Yeah, they're sold, or most of them are made semi-automatic. This gun can be converted fairly simply to a fully automatic gun. One squeeze of the trigger and all the bullets are dispersed. And that's where you hear the term spray in the street.
I was on 103rd and 3rd Avenue, and I got out of the car with my friend, and we walked over to a chicken place. When I came out, shots just stopped firing, and I got hit. I got hit in my neck. And
Who was shooting?
My friend and another guy. I don't know who he is. And one guy got killed, and another wounded, I guess.
What was it about?
I really don't know. I don't know to this. I really don't know what it was about.
Do you ever think that the bullets that got you might have come from a gun that you sold?
Might have. Just might have.
You take responsibility for what you did?
Yeah, I take all responsibility.
So you don't blame society for turning you. You called yourself a menace.
Yeah, I guess I was kind of a menace, a product of my environment, I'll put it that way.
But you can't say, well, I chose it and then I'm also a product of it. Isn't that a contradiction?
Yeah, well, it's like saying this. If you grow up in violence, violence is all you know, right? You could take a little kid and teach him love all the way till he grows up to be a man. And that's all he'll know. But if you take a kid and instill hate and violence into him, that's what he's gonna do.
Teaching children positive values and behavior is the goal of these young people, members of a Brooklyn group called Faces. This skit is entitled, What Are You Looking At?
Wait! And you wanna know how we feel about violence?
Yo, but first, you gotta know the rules of the street.
Rule number 1, don't ever go out like Ronnie King. It's better to be judged by 12 than carried out by 6.
The message I think the group gives out is that peer pressure doesn't always have to be negative, that it can be positive too.
Rule number 2, avoid eye contact at all times, unless of course you're ready for a fight. What are you looking at?
If you're living in the projects, you gotta find some way to survive. And for them, turning to violence is the easy way. You shoot somebody that's gonna harm you, they're not there to harm you no more.
We try and go out there and teach kids that not everything has to be resolved with violence, that it can be done peacefully.
Rule number 3, always carry your weapons where it can be found. I like them to sock in your backpack.
Rule number 4, always carry your ID, because if something happens, they can ID your body.
All of us have done, wrong things but, some of us have came from bad neighborhoods and done bad things, but when we came here, it taught us to, be different.
We're not all perfect. We can't say that, now that we're in the group, we're a bunch of angels, because the reason why we're in the group is still because we have problems, and we all help each other with those problems. Some of us have real serious problems. So we're not all perfect, but this group helps us cope with it.
If I was to worry about going ahead and he was worrying about going ahead, then we don't have to worry about clashing against each other because we're both going ahead and we're never gonna cross. So it comes with supporting one another and knowing that we're not all separated just because we're different races or because we're different ages, is that we're all together and we're all in the same box. And in order for us to break out of the box, we have to all work together to break out of that box.
He got shot and killed because he was in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Yeah, but what happens when the wrong place is your neighborhood? The wrong time is any time you decide to walk out that door. He got beat up by cops, so I guess that makes it okay.
I guess so.
My sister got beat up because she was black.
Because she was white. Because she was Jewish.
Because she was gay.
You're not allowed to beat up on a woman.
Unless, of course, if you're married to her. You're not even safe in your own home.
A stray bullet could come through your window at any time.
Or your father could come home drunk and beat the crap out of you.
Or the wrong person can end up in your bed.
Hey, and even if your parents don't hit you, they got a lot of other ways they can hurt you.
Yeah, like tell you that you're worthless and that you're a failure and they wish you were never born.
Hey, and how about those headlines?
Last night, 158 people died in violent arson fire.
Newsreel, 1993. 6 light dead and thousands are wounded in Twin Tower bombing.
Coming up next, 7-year-old girl raped and slain by convicted felon. And in the news tonight, baby found in garbage after being thrown down an incinerator.
Newsflash, wife beaten to death by husband.
And you want to know how we feel about violence?
What are you looking at?
What can we learn from this story about what can be done to end the violence? Listen to what the people we met have to say.
We got to have a total reformation. Where does that reformation start? Yes, better schools, but not even so much the schools in the sense that we got to change what's there now. Reformation has to start with a better attitude that prevails. Again, I go back to each segment of the population, the media, the schools, of course, the churches, the adults. Just the general society has to take a different attitude towards listening to these young people.
Educate them. Educate. That's the only hope that's out here. Education.
Give them a future, give them a job.
Education.
It has to start with us. We are the ones that have to turn it around somehow. Can't just let it slide anymore.
A good solution is to have more groups like this and bring more kids, make kids more aware of groups like this and places where they can go when they have problems.
I feel if you see something wrong going down, you know, you don't have to present yourself. You know, just call up. Don't give your name. Just call up and say crime in progress or something. Because that'll be one less life that we're going to lose.
I think in some cases, parents in these neighborhoods have to realize their responsibility. I think also communities as a whole have to realize their collective responsibility for one another.
If you have, you know, no love or no respect for yourself, how could you have mercy on the next person, you know?
My single solution is for everybody, without guns, without knives, is to use this up here. This is the single solution up here.
Throw all the guns and stuff in the river.
Throw the guns in the river.
The guns are the quick fix. The real change is education.
And I think the guns should be off the street.
We need more cops, and I'm one of them.
What would you do?
Avoid drugs.
Avoid drugs.
Avoid drugs.
Get rid of every last gun out here. And drugs. Just get rid of them.
Unless, like I said, people come together and realize, hey, cannot go on because the youth of our country is at stake here. I mean, that's our future, isn't it? The youth of this country.
For your children, what are your hopes and dreams?
I want so bad for them to have a fair chance, and I want them to be given a fair chance. But I don't want to say that they're going to have a fair chance when really that's not really likely. So in order for me to, I just want them to have a fair chance, and I don't know if they're really going to get it.
I wake up thinking I might see him. I listen to the door. I listened to hear the knock on my door because whenever he came home, he would always knock on my door and come in, and we would talk for a while. And I would hear him in the house doing his little things, and you know, I still listened for him to come back.
It's too late for Frankie Davis, but what about the millions of children all over America growing up in an atmosphere of violence and fear? What Gary Gates called a fair chance is really the American promise to all our children. To keep that promise, we first have to stem the rising tide of violence, end the fear. Until we do that, nobody has a fair chance.
production of South Carolina ETV and ACSN. The Merrill Report, Caught in the Crossfire, is brought to you by the people of Toyota. Additional funding has been provided by the Ford Foundation, the Pew Charitable Trusts, and Carnegie Corporation of New York. For a free copy of A Guide to Learning, call 1-800-277-0829.
This is PBS.
To purchase a copy of this edition of the Merrill Report or others in this series, please call 1-800-277-0829 or write to SCETV Marketing, Box 11,000, Columbia, South Carolina, 29211. Major credit cards are accepted.